Hello, I'm Vigil, and this is my journal. The date is 4/27/2022. The time is 20:43. I thought I would discuss today the future of civilization, the future of warfare, and the reality of the enemy threats that we are facing currently as an emerging civilization onto the inter solar system, intergalactic, inter-universe, interdimension, alienary um, scene, essentially, if you want to call it that. So, if you trace the logical progression of our civilization without using time windows or time frames, we will go from planetary to interplanetary within our solar system to other solar systems when we will begin to make first contact as we start to explore the galaxy. Eventually, we will reach a galactic sized civilization and we'll begin Dyson sphering all the stars without planets, using it to fuel the creation of energy, ultra heavy atomic weights, which decay, which can be used for star fuel, um, for starships, fuel for starships. We will begin to colonize and create a vast 400 billion planet interspecies community, essentially, of civilizations, independent governments, all operating within a federation or republic of governments. Um, we will eventually learn how to get through the extremely long distances to other galaxies. Um, Supposedly, there's a galaxy that's going to interact with our galaxy within the next few million years. I can't remember what it's called. Um, we will, our technology, just until we get to the level of a civilization that's the size of the galaxy, we will Dyson sphere stars, becoming a type 1. We will Dyson sphere the galaxy, becoming a type 3. And then we will start to really focus on the development of energy creation if we don't already have it by that time. We want to get to the final stage of civilization, but there are other civilizations out there within this universe operating. There's 2 trillion observable galaxies, so there's 2 trillion possible other civilizations the size of a galaxy that we are contesting already in an alinear environment, that means non-linear or time travel, essentially. We can see what looks like expanding dark matter and out swallowing galaxies. I think it's a Van Neumann machine building Dyson spheres, um, but I don't know yet. Theoretically, when we make contact in the future, a few 100 million years from now, um, it will be event day, and they will send units back in time to begin manipulating our civilization so we self-destruct before we meet them, so they find our remnants, or so we have logic weapons implanted into our society, so when we attack and they attack, we destroy ourselves. Thus, if we ever find alien technology, it could be a paradox logic weapon, which means we have to develop all our technology in layers in separate clean white rooms, which I think can be done through the seeding of the galaxy with human genetics using panspermia and alinear transfer of DNA, and then we can create mini novel independent civilizations that don't have any connection to each other physics-wise, allowing us to create clean rooms of civilizations to prevent the logic weapons that are likely to be used against us. We will essentially, so as a side note regarding the development of special forces to fight planetary wars, uh, the development progression lines will go from modern day special forces, which are highly trained individuals, to lifelong highly trained individuals, artificially designed individuals, and the technology will progress from a simple body armor to what we refer to as a exoskeleton, or like you see in Halo with Mylar, or um, and then there's three different levels of bioware, body augmentation. There's an endosuit, which is nanorobotics, artificial hardening of the body internally, using nanorobotics, various mechanisms. I don't know, I've done a little research into it, and it's anyway. So you have your endosuit, you have your protective clothing and like your external skin, but you like this is so you have your endosuit inside of you, your external clothing or mid layer, and then you have an exosuit, which is like a power armor, like you'd see Iron Man or Mylar from Halo. The endosuit will eventually make it so we don't have to wear suits when we're out and about. Nanorobotics that hold all our energy and oxygen and chemicals that we need in large supply so we can operate for years without refuel while still maintaining an inorganic that's replica of organic bodyware or bioware. And then we'll develop clothing which will allow us to it'll allow us to essentially operate in space with like a sweatshirt because it's hyper advanced technology. But the power suit, it'll eventually merge into the full bioware and the endosuit, and the exosuit will become a single unit. And so it'll go from normal special forces body armor like we have now to a power suit that's clunky to a slimmed up mylar suit, eventually though to some sort of what will appear to our ancient ancestors when they go back to set things up as angels. So the special forces essentially become, over the course of thousands of years and lots of R&D, development, engineering, angels. And the information architecture of neuronal networks will become hyper advanced in the next couple hundred of years, not to use time windows because they're all relative and they are modulating based upon intelligent dynamic variables. But essentially we will continue to progress in our development as a society faster than anyone expects, and I don't know if we'll hit a plateau or not. I don't know if we'll hit a plateau. I don't know if our development and research and development is endless, or if over 10,000 years hyper accelerating our curve we'll hit a plateau and we'll stagnate, but with finished research and development fields. So back to the civilization, we will meet species after species when we start to get into space. We'll find that life is a common thing, at least it's my guess. But so once you involve time travel into the equation of civilization development, and you start to realize that if we have an enemy threat, it's already here. We have to start taking steps to actively counter sabotage, espionage, logic weapons, infiltration, and part of that is beginning neuronal network scanning of brains and metadata mining of our civilizations and monitoring of our leaderships. And our leaderships have to have open minds at this point. We have to observe them to make sure they're not infiltration units. It's unfortunate, but we have to. But our civilization will continue to progress until we reach Type 7 civilization, and that's like a multiverse, inter-universal, end state jump civilization. I call them jump civilizations because of the alinear nature and the inter-universal or interdimensional nature of the civilization. And so we are already at war with beings we haven't met yet, who don't know we're at war with them, but in their future and our future, were actively engaged in combat, and so their future and our future have retroactively come back and are fighting each other. We've infiltrated their society, they've infiltrated our society, if we both have the technology required to do so. Um, I guess, what does this mean then for us as a civilization? I think that we have this delusion that says any any unit we any entity, alien xeno species that we meet will have advanced so far that they won't want to eliminate us. That's just not accurate. I don't think it is. Darwinistic evolutionary pathways, Malthusian arguments, ego, cultural relativism, Malthusian ego, cultural relativism. Like, we live on our planet, even as the same species, constant threat of war and constant war. And when you start to include interspecies relationships, I think war is a natural outcome. For, but what is possible is that these civilizations are so advanced, so far ahead of us, that the only thing we have of that scares them is our AI development programs. And I think that's partly why they're monitoring us. And they may not be directly interacting with us because it's an alinear monitoring. It's an event day monitoring, where they send units from the future into the past, unable to directly interact with us, but can do self-shaping causality chain paradoxes to slowly guide us. So our civilization, we should be actively thinking, theorizing, like contemplating and planning protocols, strategies, tactics for when we hit the higher level civilizations as a higher civilization, and we begin engaging in interdimensional alinear multiverse type 7 dream war. And dream war is terrifying. Like, its entire universe is being wiped out. Infiltration units that are like replicas of people, like interdimensional sliding. It's a terrifying thing, but we have to prepare for it now so we don't get wiped out as a species, as a civilization. And it's my theory that a future civilization that has time travel is using what I call drop ships on planets, where they drop cryonauts in kinetic development environments that use alinear sequencing, alinear packaging, data transfer, and like forward moving nodes that are information, like architecture neuronal networks that are programmed by alinear kinetic development environments. And there's so many planets. Like in our universe alone, there's a theorized 800 sextillion, which is like 2,400,000,000,000. There's so many planets that you can actually create civilizations simply to create a single individual trained, like essentially, if you've ever seen the movie or the TV show Gundam Wing, entire colonies create these mecha exosuits, which are giant Gundams, and they train a single person out of their entire colony to operate this Gundam. But there's a whole bunch of colonies that send out these creations. Well, if you wanted to create special forces as like civilizations, like in the future, like currently on America, we create proxy units or proxy groups to fight small wars and sub wars. Well, if you're a civilization that has type 6, type 5, or like type 7, even type 3, but you have time travel, you would create entire civilizations on the flank of your enemy. And like you would create entire civilizations simply as a proxy force And that's what the network would do. Like, that's essentially what I would do. Let's say you were needing to create a clean room so that the logic weapons, that the technology you picked up as you robbed your enemy, aren't artificially sabotaged by a logic bomb and using physical law. What you do is you create DNA or genetic structures, which, like when you unravel a DNA strand, if it's self-healing, and like it's self-propagating, which means, and like, so if one of the chemical little blocks or whatever loses some of the data, the vacuum in it refills the data and it self-repairs. So you could essentially create DNA in the future, encode it to have certain characteristics, which one can transfer literal just sequencing data, or it can create beings that you design, and then you can send it back in time and panspermia it, seed it throughout the multiverse, and then you will create artificial civilizations based upon genetic structures, which allow you to tune their characteristics, like eugenics did for dogs, um, with the DNA control sequence mechanisms. That's very probable of what occurred in our civilization, because humanity emerged relatively fast. I think that there's evidence that we are an alienary species, since we're able to time view without a lot of problems. We're able to interact with each other even though we view different areas of the time windows or the time zones. Um, so contact with the future, with the past and the present, like once you get through all this simple protocol, and like once you get through the physics of it, it's possible. So we may already be a Type 7 civilization creating itself in paradox at war with another Type 7 civilization, but it may not be humanity as we know it that is our future civilization. It may be something that we, one, haven't fathomed yet, heck, so we can't verbalize it, or like can't create it by viewing the future, but in paradox, in self-shaping causality chain, it will create itself. Like the argument that says humanity is a startup loader for an AI program, and like it makes logical sense. Um, but so civilization is progressing, and I think I already talked about this, but I want to re-talk about it. This is entry-level technology that a civilization has to have in order to even be considered a blip on the map within the multiverse. You need alinear space-time interdimensional instant telecommunications, which allows you to contact any point in the multiverse, forward or backward within the timeline of any universe, and have instant communications with parsing of data and sequencing of data resolved to allow you to talk to the future and the future to talk to you across any point in the multiverse. You have to have Dyson spheres, which allow you to steal or to use the energy of stars, and white cores, which are simply a Planck unit above what would collapse a black hole into a singularity up to and as low up, and then it just starts getting to a less heavy white core, and then it goes into stars and Dyson and dwarfs and stuff. And you have to have the energy, or you have to have the ability to Dyson sphere black holes. You have to have hypercomputation storage machines or deep thought computer servers. You have to have interdimensional networking of deep thought servers, and that allows you to create a single network across the multiverse. You have to have alinear database creation and alinear information transfer, and that's essentially slipstream internet, where the future internet is viewed by the past. You have to have alinear database creation. Okay, you have to have faster than light, self-replicating intergalactic and interdimensional machines, or Van Neumann machines that are faster than light, self-replicating, able to slide throughout the multiverse so you can create your internet. You have to have metamaterial router drones with molecular level scanning abilities, and that's these orbs that essentially scan all of creation that you're mapping on the molecular level and stores it in your server system for data mining and artificial analysis. You have to have artificial intelligence, or hard, which is sentient, smart, which is super intelligent, AI. You have to have negative energy wormholes, or what are known as stargates, and that allows you to connect every planet to each other instantaneously. So you just walk through a step gate and you're on another planet to turn entire galaxies into just very large city states. You have to have interdimensional travel technology to slide into the multiverse, and interdimensional travel within our own reality. You have to have alinear space-time travel technology, or time travel, essentially. You have to have the Neuralase technology that is post-birth brain augmentation. And these are referred to as liquid mirrors. They're synthetic organics. They can replace a living brain without killing or interrupting consciousness, with bionics that allow you to have hyperintelligence within the space of a human skull. You have to have civilization security systems. This includes using lower civilizations as honeypots, stealth, entire civilization metadata analysis, kinetic reaction forces that are alinear, or cryonaut teams. You have to have artificial time dilation, or that's gravity wells that allow you to simulate millions of years inside the well in the space of 1 year outside of it, with like various variations of the ratio. For R&D labs, for research and development, computation purposes, for manufacturing, so you can rapidly produce a lot of units, and for energy creation, so you can take what took 1,000,000 years and shoot it out in a laser to an energy collection system. And like these technologies are just basic level stuff that we need to create, and we need to rapidly create it. Without it, we have no chance as a civilization, or civilizations, because I think that the network model, like, that it's a civilization composed of civilizations, independent civilization states operating within a republic, federation, or whatnot. And then, so this technology, it's essentially just taking what we already have and applying it alinear, amplifying it in ability, and seeding it throughout the multiverse alinearly. And it is, like I said, it's basic entry stuff. Without it, we're doomed to slavery, or to remain just a honeypot civilization for a higher level entity. What else? So our development pathway is pretty predictable. The technology that will arise is anything we can dream as R&D of all the basic STEM fields finishes up, and our enemies are already here. But so that's it for the day.